This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting, proudly sponsored by Empire Fight Store. I'm very lucky to joined by the one and only Jimmy Tibbs. Jimmy, how you doing, mate?
Lovely, thank you, Fred. Thank you.
So Jimmy, before we kind of touch on the kind of upcoming fights, the Johnny Fisher's fighting this weekend, I want to talk a bit about you and your story. Tell me a bit about your childhood and you kind of growing up in East London and Canning Town. What was that all like?
Well, growing up in Canning Town, East London, when I was a young lad, was a beautiful place to live. It was a great place to live. Everyone knew one another. I sold a lot of tickets as an amateur boxer. I sold West Ham boys, West Ham Baths, where I boxed all the champions there.
And you kind of started boxing at age 15, 11. Was it 15 or 11 you started boxing?
I started boxing when I was 11 years of age.
And who got you into that?
Myself. I decided I wanted to be. I was a good footballer, and I went for a trial for West Ham with Frank Lampard, old Frank. Right, I never got through. He did, and we've been friends ever since. He's a good friend of mine. He knows my wife more than me, but he's a nice fellow, good friend. And so I decided to go into boxing, and 11 years of age.
And I saw an interview with you where you're saying you pretty much won everything as an amateur. Is that true? You won all the nationals, ABAs. Is that true?
I won 2 schoolboys, NABCs, London Junior ABAs, Junior ABA finalists, semi-finalists in the Senior London ABAs, because me and Mark Rove, 2 of the best in the country at that time in London, both drew one another, so it was only one of us who was going to get through. He got through, and Ronnie Smith beat him. He was a good fighter, Ronnie Smith.
Do you still have all your amateur medal certificates at home?
No, I don't really. Some of my family have got most of it, but I've got little bits and pieces.
Okay, that's nice you still have a few things. And you turned pro at 19 years old. That's quite young to turn pro. How come you turned pro so early?
Because I was offered a lot of money.
Was it a lot?
It was a lot to me, yeah. Don't ask me how much, because I'm not going to tell you.
I'm not one of those interviewers going to ask you about money, but that sounds pretty nice. And when you turned pro, what were your kind of ambitions? Go all the way, I guess, at that stage.
My ambition was to win a British title, and to go on for a European title, then a world title, because that's how it was done in them days. And there was only one body then. There was only one world champion every weight. So and the time when I went down from light heavyweights to middleweights, Carlos Monzon was a middleweight champion of the world. So I thought myself, I'd love to fight him, but it's going to be a bit of an handful. He was a great fighter. And
I listened to a little podcast where you were saying you sparred Muhammad Ali. That's mad. What was that like?
Well, actually, I was explaining to someone else just a minute ago. It wasn't a proper spar, but I didn't know that then. I was with a friend of mine, and my manager's friends drove down to me to see me and said, "Jim, jump in the motor. We've got your sparring gear. You're sparring with Ali," because he was fighting Henry Cooper. So I went sparring with Ali. In my head, I thought, "What's he want to spar with me for? I'm only 12 stone, and he's skin, and he got no money to get a sparring partners." So I got in the motor. Went down there. No one ever told me that it was for publicity, because it wasn't real. It was for publicity. So when I got there, Ali was there. He never said nothing. Just shook hands. Angelo Dundee, he never said nothing. Shook hands. Mickey Dutt was there with Terry Lawless, who was my managers. And I thought, well, I'll do the best I can. I know he's a great fighter, but I'm going to do the... Anyway, I got in the ring, and I got photos of it. I just showed him. I just touched with a jab, just touched his head guard, and he went down. And I thought, I didn't hit him. Did I hit him? I don't know. I don't know if I hit him or not. But it was for publicity. It went all around the world. Because I was on that bill, on his bill. I was on the undercard.
Were you starstruck at all when you saw Muhammad Ali at that age, that young?
I was starstruck, but I could handle it. Because I was a professional fighter. I can say I'm more starstruck now than I was then. Because I can always say, I never sparred with Ali. I shared the ring with him. One of the greatest heavyweight fighters that ever lived. I shared the ring with him.
That's pretty cool to say. It's quite impressive. But is there a photo of him on the ground and you standing over him? Isn't there? How come that photo isn't in the gym?
Well, I don't want it going up in the gym because I wasn't a champion of anything. So, no.
Okay, that's still a pretty cool picture to have. And tell me about the time.
It's on the wall in my house.
When the guests come over, oh yeah, look at this photo. But instead, talking about your coaching, you first kind of got into coaching when you're kind of working at scrap metal and it was doing very well. And one of your mates asked you, he went to America and he was like, oh, I'm going on holiday to America. We okay, you look after a bunch of fighters. And was that the first time you kind of got into coaching them?
Well, that was Terry Lawless that asked me, actually. He was managing all the fighters who used to manage me in the gym where I trained when I was a fighter, the Royal Oak, Canning Town. And my scrap business was going out of business because the Greater London Council wanted to build houses on it, so they paid us compensation. So I was looking around to do something else, and I just thought I'm going to have a ride up the gym, just a bit. I knew all the fighters up there, Bruno, Kayla, Pyer, and different other fighters, all good fighters up there. And Charlie Magri, and I thought I'll have a one in to see Terry, and I was explaining to him about not being in work in the yard no more. And then right out of the blue, he went, Jim, he said, I'm going to America for a couple of weeks. Want to look after these fighters for me? I went, yeah. I said, I'll look after them if you want me to. So he went, and I started doing a bit of pad work with them. Then they was all lining up for it. They wanted it because I was telling them what I thought was the right thing to do. I'm not saying anyone else told them anything bad, but I've told them what I wanted, you know. They liked it, and when Terry come back, he rang me up. He said, Jim, come back, Charlie Magri wants you to train him. And then all the other fighters followed suit.
That sounds quite good.
That's 40 odd years ago. I haven't been out of the gym since.
Is it true in boxing, once you're kind of involved in boxing or deep down, you never truly get out of boxing? Because even now at your age, you're still coming down to see Mark at the gym, see all the guys here.
Yeah, it's in your blood. I love it. I might have a couple of days off, but I love it. You know, and I regret the things that happened to me in my career that stopped me from boxing. You know what I'm talking about. I regret that, but something had to be done, and I've done it. And I went.
But that made you who you are to be today, though. It changed you in a good way, I guess, because you're here now.
I mean, it changed me. Well, that didn't actually change me. Me becoming a born-again Christian changed me. It don't make me a better person than anyone else, but it's made me feel right with the Lord. And that's how I feel, and I'm grateful for that. I thank the Lord every day for my life, for my son's life, for my granddaughters, my great-grandchildren. Thank the Lord.
Yeah, thank the Lord. And just talking about, if you just touch on your coaching, then we'll talk about Mark Tibbs.
I know I've gone right with boxing.
Let's get back to the coaching. You trained many fighters over the years. Which fighter do you think could have achieved more? They could have done a bit more on the sort of boxing. Maybe they weren't as disciplined, or they could have gone that extra step further.
Oh, blimey. I'll have to think about that one. You had to ask me that later on, because all the world champions that I trained, they was working hard to get there. You know, even Frank Bruno, he didn't win a world title with me, but he won the European title. He was a very good trainer, very hard trainer. But sometimes when you train hard, you've got to rest and all. You need the rest. So I tell a lot of fighters, I used to tell fighters, have the rest, and you'll want to fight. Then you'll want to fight. You'll have the energy. I think. What was the question you asked me about?
Are there any fighters you train that you think could have gone that extra step further?
Yes, there's one fighter who's a flyweight, Mickey Campbell. He fought for the world title, I think, 3 or 4 times, and he was very unlucky not to be world champion. He was a great little fighter, and he was just unlucky. You know, he got cut once, it was bad, and I let him bleed. The referee said, "You're going to stop this?" I went, well, "He's all right. He's only got another round to go." He stopped it. But no, he was a very nice person and a great little fighter.
Certainly, I'll have to get a word of him. I have to try and get in contact with him. But obviously, you coach so many different fighters. You have so many different memories. Well, it's very hard to ask you what's your favourite memory. But what is some of your favourite memories? Multiple memories of training fighters in the corner, in the gyms.
Well, it's not only world champions. Obviously, I was very excited and over the moon and overjoyed them winning the world title, and before that when they won the European titles. But I've been involved in Southern Area title fights at York Hall when it's been fantastic. I can't think of the names now, the boys, but it's been over the moon. It's been as good as world title fights, feeling-wise. So that, you know, so I class all that, and I think it's lovely. That's why I'm still coming.
Do you think that? kind of the coaching, it kind of gives, when you're not a boxer anymore, the coaching, a lot of boxers get banged the coaching because it still gives them that buzz. It still gives them the kind of that adrenaline. It makes them feel so good when their fighter wins.
Exactly. If you train a fighter or coach him, whatever you want to call it, I call it training myself. When you train a fighter and they get off everything they try to do, everything you tell them, and it works, then that fighter knows that his trainer was right, and you get the buzz saying I was right. And if they can't do it, I'll tell them we try something else.
Certainly. And just one last question. I know you're a very busy man. How nice is it now to see your son having his own gym with his own stable of fighters? Be playing basketball up here. I'm going to tilt it. A basketball hoop up above you. How nice is it to see you playing your grandson playing basketball, seeing your son so successful? How nice is that all? How does that feel to you?
It means the world to me. It means the world to me. Yeah, I really thank God again. It's beautiful to see Mark, his son, my grandson. Wonderful. I've got another son, Jimmy. He was a good amateur boxer, but he was a good footballer and all. And when he was amateur boxing, he used to sell more tickets than Mark.
More than Johnny Fisher?
No, no. I don't think Ali would sell more than him. No, it's great.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Jimmy. It's much appreciated. And you'll be going down this fight week?
I'll be going there with Mark and Johnny Fisher. It's good to be round. He likes people around him, and it's good to be around him. He's done his work. He's trained hard. He's looking good. And I'm going to come tell him in a minute how good he's looking. Yeah.
I remember speaking to Louis Horn. He was saying that some of the fighters are kind of a bit afraid of you. When you're nearby and they're not doing it right, they get a bit afraid of you. Do you know that?
Get afraid of me?
Yeah.
What is that?
In case they get told off.
Who told that? Louis who?
No, it wasn't.
It don't matter.
I think it was Louis Horn who was saying, well, you want to be on the edge of Mark when Jimmy Tibbs is around.
His brother.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't know where he's got that from. He should have been with me years ago then, when I was heavy, when they were doing it. But everything I've done, don't matter if I was aggressive or not, you got to believe me, I've always done it for my fighters. Not know if they're bad or good. If they was with me, I used to protect them. Not just train them, protect them.
You cared for all your fighters.
I cared for them. You asked them all. I cared for them. I used to do anything for them. I've done more for them than I did for my wife. She used to go mad.
I mean, that's quite a good way to end it. Well, Jimmy, I'm sure we'll see you fight week, but thanks for your time, mate.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, sir. Pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jimmy. That's great.